Hello there. I'm Sin here in the Book Nook, and today we are going to talk about the third book in the Emily Wilde series called The Compendium of Lost Tales, which is by Heather Fawcett. This book is another magical return to the land of fairy, where it follows Emily Wilde, our scholarly curmudgeon, and Wendell Bambleby, who is a king of the fairies. Well, he was an exiled king, and what they're doing in this book is they're going back to his kingdom because they finally found a doorway in, and they're gonna take it back because his evil stepmother had taken it over and she was freaking horrible, and she has kind of disappeared and went away like she was poisoned in the last prior book. So she's like gone off to die somewhere, or maybe not die. Anyways, she puts a curse on the land. They're gonna have to deal with that when they get there. So you have Wendell, Emily, Orga, Wendell's cat, and then Shadow, Emily's dog, who is also a Grimm. They're in Austria. They're about to go through the doorway and go back to his kingdom. And he's got his army of followers. He has different sects of the Fae that are coming with him. There's also the trolls. There's these Fuchswurg. I'm probably saying that super wrong. There's these like little fox fairies. And then he has this other one, Razcarden, that has like spider legs, but also flies, and there's a big motley crew. There's also these hag-headed deer that are coming through with him. So they have kind of like a motley crew of an army amassed to come back in and try to take the throne back. They get there. They're going along and trying to make their way to the castle. Here's the thing about fairy. Stuff likes to move around and doesn't always stay in one place. So in theory, the lakes and the mountains are set fixtures for the most part, but other things like forests will move over here, and the river bend might kind of jump over to a different area, and it seems like they're not getting any closer to the castle. And at one point, Emily's like, Wendell, do you know where we're going? And he's like, oh yeah, of course, of course, of course. But it doesn't really seem like he does. So, yeah, I don't know. And eventually they stumble onto his uncle. And his uncle was like, all right, you're here to take over the kingdom. He's like, I don't really care either way. He's like, into his uncle, Lord Taryn, is like the oldest, like one of the oldest Fae in that land. So this is the land of the Silva Lupi, which is a sect of fairy that seems to be one of the more dangerous and violent ones. So the uncle, Lord Taryn, he's like, well, your father said that I have to basically see if you're stronger than him. So we're gonna have a fight to the death here. And Emily's like, Bev! And Wendell's like, okay, here, hold this. And he gets his sword out. He's all like, well, I've never lost a sword fight. And then Lord Taryn's like, as have I, da 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 da. And so they fight and fight and fight. And this goes on for quite some time. And then eventually he asks for his cloak and shows it to Lord Taryn, and his needlework and the fact that he sewed some of the veil, which is this other realm, like into this cloak and whatnot. He shows that to his uncle, and his uncle's like, oh yeah, that skill's definitely way better than your father's was. So, all right, cool, we're good. Emily's like, what? Do you mean you could have just shown him this cloak the whole time and you wouldn't have had to fight like this? And so he's over it, Uncle's over it, and Emily's like, what the F? This guy was just gonna kill you and you're just all nonchalant. But that's just her getting used to being a fairy because things don't work normally. It's very chaotic and erratic in the way that the creatures and the fae and everyone behaves, and there's these big oak trees. They have, it's where the trees have eyes. They have these eyes on all their leaves, and they're very creepy. They seem like if you're not watching out, then maybe they'll make you disappear. I don't know. What they find out as they make their way up to the castle is that the former queen, his stepmom, she disappeared and ran away, but she's put a curse on the land, and basically it's poisoning the land. The creatures are becoming all scabby and zombie-like, and the trees all have like what seems disease, and it's basically slowly killing and creeping through the land. And so they've been trying to kind of control it by sending out like some of the people to just burn the area down so that it doesn't spread, but that also doesn't seem to be helping. And so, anyways, they eventually get to the castle, start talking to the other Fae, and since he had proved himself to Lord Taryn. They have accepted him. But Emily, she's human, so she feels really weird and she's just trying to like fit in and find her way being in this strange place. And a lot of the book too, like this, so she's writing a compendium, right? But she wants to write about her newest book will be about like the politics of fairy. So that's what she kind of starts out with. And so in the beginning of the book too, you get the perspective where she's writing that almost has like it's writing this scholarly book. I liked this one, but I have to be honest and say I liked the first two better. I did. The first two I thought were amazing. This one I thought was good. I didn't think it was as good as the other two. I'm just discovering this along with you as I talk out loud here. I still really liked it. I thought it was magical. I really liked the story. I like the characters. It's weird. It's quirky. It's dark and eerie. There's so many different aspects of the Fae and the characters and all that. And Wendell is just a nutball. And it's also Em trying to fit in and find her place here amongst the Fae. And there are a few other humans that are around and whatnot. Wendell does also, he puts like a door in the castle that's like a fairy door. So she can go through it and go, there's this little cottage there and there's this little area. So when she needs to get away, she can go there and like be back in the normal world when maybe it all gets to be too much, which is really cool that he did that for her and whatnot. Between the two of them, they have to figure out how the stepmother is poisoning the land, where she is, what the cure to this possibly could be. Emily starts digging in and like getting into the lore of fairy and all this stuff. And it seems like the key to this is going to be like in some of the old stories about the Fae and like what happened to them and like similar situations with the rivalry for the throne and whatnot. And then Wendell also has a stepsister, Dela, and she is she his half sister? She's his half sister because it's his father and then the stepmom's daughter. And at first she's like trying to kill him, but then she kind of comes around and she's super young. She looks like she's 14 or 15, but the age of the Fae is weird because some of them are hundreds of years old, and who knows how old Lord Taryn is. He could be like 5,000 years old. We don't really know. So you have that. Like their age is not in the same concept as human age. Stuff in fairy like moves around as it wants to. It is a magical place. It can be a scary place. When they do find out how to break the curse, it is a double-edged sword because, well, I'm not going to actually say what it is, but I did like that part of the story. I don't know, I like the first two better. I just did. Like I said, this one's still really good. It's super enjoyable. If you've read the first two, you definitely need to read this one. I just like the first two better. This one was still a fun and magical and lovely read. And even though I know this is the last one, she could definitely do some more. There's so much more ridiculousness that could happen in fairy. We'll see. But yeah, if you like the first two, definitely pick this up. It's a fun series if you like stories that have to do with the Fae and our magic, but also dark as well. Then Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales by Heather Fawcett might just be for you. But obviously start with the first book, which is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. And if you haven't read that yet, that'll be the next video coming up so you can see what the first book is actually about and then make a decision from there. So stick around, check it out. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.